lack of faith disturbing? Come, join the dark side. But just for this one episode. Welcome to episode 8, the trick part of our Halloween series here on the Blue Sky Lounge. I am your host, Tyler Iantkow. Today's episode is about Disney villains and how to incorporate them more into the parks. This week's guest is Natalie, and she is a huge villains fan. She and I are going to talk about how we would like to see villains incorporated more into the parks, as well as talk about our very own villain-specific park and villain-specific resort. All right, folks, here we are with Natalie here on the Blue Sky Lounge. Natalie, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us on our villains episode. As you can see, we have some villains behind us. Natalie is a very good friend of the family's, and she moved to the UK a few years ago, and she asked us to take care of some of her collection. So here it is.
You're so beautiful.
Very excited to see them.
I am.
So Natalie, you've worked for Disney. I want to know your Disney story. Like, when did you start loving Disney? Like, go. I just want to know everything.
When did I start loving Disney? As early as you can love something, I loved Disney. It's been in the fabric of my existence. When we were, seriously, like woven right in. When we were kids, so I was 5, I want to say, was the first time we went to Disney World. Yeah. And my sister was 3, and it was something we did every 2 years. Like, we didn't do a ton of extra. I mean, we got to travel, but that was like the trip. Mm-hmm. That was every 2 years we were going to Disney, and it was magic. It was one of those things where you just, there's not enough words to be able to describe the way it feels. Like, home is a good way to put it, but it's just, there's something so special about it. And I'm regularly a weeping basket case when I go now, because I have these memories forever. I can't hold it together. You should see me at a fireworks at the end of the night looking at my kids and everybody's enjoying it. I'm like, it's really ugly. But no, so Disney has always been like a center focus. I like the happy things in life, right? And I find like Disney is just kind of like a ray of sunshine when sometimes everything else is kind of not as rays of sunshine. It always has that positive look on things. And then when I got older, like a real appreciation for it. It became less about, the rainbows and clouds and how wonderful everything was, and more about like just the general like mastermind that Disney was, and what he created and what he could accomplish, and what he did with his life, and his positive attitude. So that kind of stuff really resonated as I got older. And then I started working at the Disney store, like really on a whim. I had just had Liam, and I was like in the mall, and they were hiring temporary positions, and I'm like, you know what, honey, I need to get a life again. Because once you have a kid, and then you're kind of like, then you don't have a life anymore. But it was like the best decision of my life. I mean, my Mohana is there. I've never worked in a place where I've made such memorable, long-lasting connections with people as I have with the people that I worked with. They all and I think it's because we all think a certain way, like we all feel a certain way. We all have, for the most part, a reasonably like positive outlook on the way, on what's around us and the world around us, and see things for the good rather than the not good. And I don't know if that's naivety or I don't know what it is, but because we all think that way. So Disney is it's really special. It's really important.
Yeah.
It's important in my life, which may sound silly, but it's important. My kids right now, I have 3 out of 4, because Audrey hasn't picked what she wants to be yet, but 3 out of 4 that are pretty certain they're going to be working in the parks at some point. They're like, I'm going to be an Imagineer. I'm like, of course you are. Why don't you go get your engineering degree and then apply? Big dreams for my children.
So now, as I said, Natalie and I are good friends. We've been friends for quite a while, and she's a big villains fan, as you can see from behind me. And I thought, who better than to have on our villains episode? So, Natalie, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited.
All right, so let's jump right into this. If you were to have a meet and greet, well, first of all, we discussed there's always that rumor going around that there's going to be a dark kingdom, a villain's kingdom somewhere, sometime. So I proposed a whole bunch of questions to you stating if this was going to be a thing, these questions are based on that kingdom. So the first question I asked you was, what would be your top 5 villains that you would love to do a meet and greet with?
All right. Well, I have some that I've already met. So they're not necessarily like ones that I haven't met yet. But I'm a big fan of the villains that you can meet that have a lot of banter with you.
Okay.
So like Lady Tremaine with Anastasia and Drizella probably are like top meet and greet for me, because I don't think there's anything funnier than those two sisters when they're interacting with guests. They're hilarious. So because of the banter, they're up there for me as like pretty much top villain meet and greet.
Yeah.
Close second, Gaston, because he's so funny. He's so funny. He can interact, right? And I know a lot of the villains that I'd like to meet are tricky because they won't interact, because their faces are they're not human enough. Which is always tricky, because I mean, like, if I could pick them and they could be interactive, it would be like Yzma would be on there, and Bowler Hat Man would be on there, and I'm trying to think who else. Like probably Hades, and I know there is Hades out there, but he's not as interactive as like Gaston and Anastasia and Drizella. But those would kind of be my like tops if I could pick. It would be Anastasia and Drizella, Gaston, Hades, Yzma, Bowler Hat Man. I think I listed too many, but those would be like my top villain picks.
That's awesome. I love all of those. I'm always a big sucker for going onto YouTube and watching people interact with, especially like villain characters, and what people interact with Anastasia and Drizella, and like people pretend to like propose to them, and
I know, they're so funny.
So
they're the best, right? I think it's that cheekiness that they have that like, well, that those really like interactive villains have. And I mean, even we had a time when we were walking, I think it was in Disneyland Paris actually, we were walking out of Pirates of the Caribbean kind of through an area, and Facilier walked by and like had commented and was like, he was super cheeky to one of the kids as he was walking by, because he has that ability to, right? Like he has that they have that ability to be kind of mean, but it works so well.
Yeah, and like Gaston, watching videos of like guys trying to do with him, and
right. No, so good. Gaston's he's always a win. He's always a win when it comes to interaction. Always.
The only thing I wish is that with Gaston there was somebody that could be a LeFou character as well.
Oh, totally. That would be great.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that, but you totally like could really play off having a LeFou. I think that's what works so well with Anastasia and Drizella, is they play off each other.
Yeah. So if you could have even like, because like the Gaston character in the parks is based off of the animated film, but if you could have somebody based off of LeFou from the live action film.
From the live action, totally.
Even though it's two kind of different multiverse realities, you could still have them work off of each other.
It could work. It could work. It would be super fun. Actually, I think that if you like did more villain pairs in general, you'd probably like, if you had Yzma and Kronk, that would be a win. 100%.
Oh, fun.
It would be so much fun. No, it'd be so good.
Awesome. Yeah, and like for my other two villains, because I would have gone with like Lady Tremaine, Anastasia and Drizella as one, Gaston as another. I always like interacting with Dr. Facilier. When I worked in Epcot, I went to a Halloween party. We had like pictures taken with Dr. Facilier, and he's just like got his like really long extended fingers and stuff, and like did to over exaggerate his qualities, but yet he was still a character that you could interact with and still talk to, and he was still a character. Was awesome.
Yeah,
and like
totally.
That's always like a big plus for me. I have seen Hades once at Disney World.
Yeah.
You can get to talk to him though. But it
No,
would,
because I don't think he's really interactive, is he?
I did see him at one Halloween party. He was getting pictures with people.
Yeah.
And he was a talking person. But,
Well, that's good though. I don't think I've seen one talking. I think I've only ever seen them on the float.
yeah, I've seen a few that have been like the like non-talking, like a fur character.
Yeah.
I've seen that quite a few times. Not interacting with people though, not like taking pictures, but like on floats and shows and stuff I've seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hades would be really good, especially, oh man, the way they did the casting for Hades and Hercules with James Woods was exquisite.
So perfect. I know.
I can't imagine anybody else like playing that.
No, neither can I.
Like even somebody in the parks who's trying to emulate James Woods, it's so hard. It's like somebody trying to do a
So hard.
impression. Like you can always try and
Exactly.
do it, but it's not the same.
It's always going to fail just a little bit.
Who would be my last one? A really cool one would be Thanos.
Thanos would be good.
If you could somehow get a face character Thanos to interact with, that
would be an amazing villain to have out there about. Yeah, 100%. I think in general, it would be nice to see some more like Marvel character villains out and about. Like I think more Marvel in general. Although there's some scary Marvel, so I mean I'm not a big fan of Red Skull. He's too scary for me. But I think some more Marvel would be good out there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what else? On a side note, because I've just thought of another one. I would really, really like to have an interactive spot with the magic mirror.
Oh.
So like have a place where you know how like with Crush, like Turtle Talk with Crush, and with like the Laugh Floor with Mike Wazowski, how it's interactive. I'd like to have like some kind of an interactive magic mirror area, so you could like be with the mirror.
That would be so cool.
Right? It would be amazing. We're so close. I know we could do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Or like, even if it's
like, Madame Leota, that could be good too.
That would be cool. Like I know in Disneyland Paris they have like the Dragon's Lair underneath the castle, and in Disneyland you have like the Sleeping Beauty walkthrough that you can do. If you could do something like that where there's a magic mirror and it's like on a walkthrough, that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I like the walkthroughs. It's funny because people never do them, but I really like doing the walkthroughs.
Right?
Yeah, I love doing the walkthroughs.
Why don't you?
Why wouldn't you do the walkthroughs? They're awesome.
Yeah, I totally dig those answers. That's awesome.
Right? Yeah, fun.
If you could do an entire park, what would you do? Like based on, would you base? So again, we were talking about like the Dark Kingdom. Obviously, it would be a Dark Kingdom. Would you base lands on different characters or different franchises, or how would you make it just like Disney World, but have like a dark Tomorrowland and a dark Adventureland, or?
No, see, I think I would pull like different movies. Okay. So I would do an Yzma lair with an Yzma roller coaster, because she has to go into her lair, right? So I would pull that, and I would do that. And then I would probably have, some kind of like an underworld of some kind of a boat ride, probably boat dark ride, because there's got to be dead souls floating everywhere or something, right? Yeah. So I think I would pull from different movies if there was like a dark land. It wouldn't be like a kingdom takeover. I wouldn't do something like that. I would do more of like their own thing.
Yeah. That's cool. I like that. As soon as you said like a boat ride, I instantly thought of like pirates.
Yeah.
But
like Hades.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be great. It would be great. You could have the mute, or the not the muse. They're shoot, I'm not gonna remember their name.
Oh, yeah.
What's the matter with these scissors? The Fates, right?
Yeah.
The Fates. I would have like the Fates, and they'd have problems with scissors, but it would be like a nice boat ride through the underworld.
You
and the Cerberus.
Yeah, Pain and Panic. Doing that.
Yeah, totally. Like it would be good. I think that would be stellar. That would be a stellar dark ride.
That would be awesome. The one that I was thinking was like, we went to Disney World 5 years ago.
For what you with you guys?
Yeah.
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
2016.
When we went, we were doing Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. Your kids were really into it.
They were really into it.
Stevie and I were thinking, like, wouldn't it be cool if, so like this Dark Kingdom is like where the villains are the heroes, and the actual heroes like Hercules and all them are like trying to come in and change their Dark Kingdom, and the villains are like, not here.
That would be so good.
So you have like a Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom, but what would be an
But
evil?
they try not to make it light. Don't make it light.
So
Yeah.
you have like evil sorcerers. So like the heroes are coming in, and you have like the evil cards. So you have like a poison apple, and you show it up to the thing, and then it battles against the hero, and then the hero gets defeated.
I'm 100% for that. I think that would be amazing. No, it would be so amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's worth a go. My favorite. I honestly think that when it comes to the villains, people always want to like explain their backstory. This has been my qualm with villains and their like new backstories, is that there's always got to be a reason that they turned evil. But I just want them to be bad, and they don't want to be good. So something like that is good because they just don't want to be good.
Yeah.
Don't mess with my stuff.
Right?
Yeah, don't mess with my stuff.
Hades, I think, is always bad. I don't think there was a reason.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. Just
totally. I think that you need the bad guys. They're important. Don't justify them.
All right. I really like that. I think that would be really cool to have. Now, what other kind of rides would you have aside from?
Oh my gosh. Other than my Yzma roller coaster, which, to be very honest, I'm dying for them to do. They should definitely. Emperor's New Groove is so underrated. It needs more light because it's the best.
We were the other day, and I'm like, why isn't there anything about this movie?
Right? Why is there never anything about it? Because it is one of the funniest movies. Yeah. We always go back to it and giggle. It's always funny. Yeah. What other rides would I do? I would probably do Crush's Coaster. I think you could take something like that, where you're all over the place in a bit of a dark ride and spinning, and do some kind of like an Ursula thing. Like you could have like a her like big transformation when she gets really big and she's got that big whirlpool. I think you could totally make some kind of a roller coaster where you're flying around the whirlpool with like ships and stuff.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be good. I would like that. It would be lots of fun. What else could you do? I think you could have some kind of like a Scar Hyena Badlands playground. Like, you know how like well, I guess they've gotten rid of a lot of them, but they used to have like Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, like, or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like they had that playground at Hollywood Studios. I think you could do some kind of like a elephant graveyard play area.
They have something.
My kids like that kind of stuff.
Similar to that kind of at Art of Animation Resort.
Do they? Oh, see, I haven't stayed there yet.
It's not elephant graveyard, but it's supposed to be like different scenes of the Lion King.
Oh, okay.
You can't really climb on top of them, but there's like little like tunnels that you can go in and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. One suggestion that I got from one of the listeners was a Lion King based one where it was the Wildebeest run.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah. So
that would be good.
You have like the hyenas like coming up to you, and then they said a roller coaster based on the Wildebeest run of the Lion King. So when I read it, I interpreted it as something similar to like Rock and Roller Coaster, where it like propels you. Yeah. Like sit there, and like you could be like in a wildebeest car, and then like these hyenas like start chasing you, and you just go. And then,
that would be so awesome.
And then you just see like tons of like Simba and like all these other animals all around.
That would be good. I would like that. Right? I mean, I'm always down for a roller coaster, so that would be awesome.
Yeah. And then I was trying to think of one for Ursula. And like I really like the idea of the Crush's Go coasters.
Yeah, no, like it could be good.
Yeah. And the same thing I was trying to think of, like, you could do similar to like a Snow White Scary Adventure.
Yep.
For Mother Gothel.
You totally could. Yeah.
Just have like go through the scenes of kind of like Tangled and like do it that way. I think that would be really cool.
That would be good. Those ones are always classic. You always need a ride like that, right? You always need those kind of. You know what? I don't know which villain I'd put with it, but I would do. Oh, you guys don't have a Ratatouille ride here. Have you done Ratatouille in Paris yet? Oh, so good. Okay, so because it shrinks you, like you're supposed to be like a rat, right? And then you move, and it's a lot of like the car moves around, and they move kind of independently. There's 3 of them, and they swirl around. It's very cool. But then it's also a lot of like 3D screens that feel very real, and then you get like heat because you're under the fire and stuff like that. I think if we could if there was, I'm sure there's a villain that you could work with, you could pair that kind of a thing with. I'm just trying to think of which one it would be. You know who you could do that with? You could do it with Ratigan. Ooh. You could actually take the whole thing and have like a whole like through the streets of London into the Queen, like
really cool. Really underrated movie.
Yeah, it really is, but it was so good.
If villains could do a show, what would it be? It could be like a Phantasmic type show, or it could be like a castle show kind of thing. Or
I feel like that because they are such big components in those shows, I think I would just role reverse those kind of things, right? Yeah, because they are really such big components. Like you can't have Phantasmic if you don't have the whole villain takeover. But if you could just do a role reversal and it could work really, really well. You could do it at like Halloween or something, right? Yeah. I don't think I would make anything different. I think I would just do some kind of a swap of which one was focused on. So there's less like Beauty and the Beast and Snow White floating by on barges happily ever after. I'd have some kind of like evil stuff in the waters or something.
I was thinking about this last night, and at 4:00 in the morning when I was awake.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking that it would be really cool to have Phantasmic and swap it around so that it's like the villain show, the villain's dreams of like what would happen if they were to have won their thing, and so they dream this thing, and then Mickey and the heroes try and come in and try and stop them.
They're wrecking it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'd be hilarious.
No, it'd be so good. I think you could totally. They had the ability to be able to do that over the Halloween months too. They could totally flip the show.
Yeah,
it would be great.
Yeah,
it would be great. And even the fireworks, you could flip a firework display or an evening display and make it about the villains.
The Boo to You fireworks is one of my ultimate favorite fireworks.
I know.
That's our show theme in 2 weeks from now. Is going to be fireworks. Spoiler alert.
I have to admit, I think that the Halloween fireworks, because I've only ever done the one time with Darren, they were amazing.
For a villain's park, you have a big lagoon.
Yep.
Little world of color.
You could totally do a world of color.
Well, world of purple, world of dark colors.
Yeah.
Awesome. What restaurants would you make in this park?
Oh no, there's so many restaurants.
Okay.
Darren and I were talking about this. It's like there's way too many possibilities.
Yeah.
Okay, so, oh man, I gotta try and remember them all. So we made jokes about some of them because when you're thinking about these things, we think about joke things. So one of them was like an elephant graveyard, like hyena badland.
Okay.
That's a joke because they never have any food.
Okay.
Right. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a restaurant, but it could be like set up like it would be, but it always has signs out like out of food because they would have no food, right? So it could be just like something that you walk by in your like villain park.
Yeah.
I toyed around with the idea of having to make your own dinner at Cinderella's at Lady Tremaine's house.
Okay.
Not necessarily that you have to like serve it to Lady Tremaine, but I was like, maybe you could do like a make your own dinner, like something. And Darren's like, I don't think that'll fly. I'm like, maybe.
That's cool to say, Natalie.
Yeah, well, it could be. We had gone to like a Facilier, like a Blue Bayou, mystical, magical, because the food is good. Everybody knows the food is good in New Orleans, so it would have to be good. And the whole movie kind of revolves around a restaurant and food, so it makes sense. Darn it, I had so many good ones. I would have one that's like in Ursula's lair, probably, and it would be just seafood and lots of shrimp.
Yes.
Lots of shrimp. Goodness, what other ones did we say? We had good ones. Now I can't remember them. Those were the main ones, though. We had giggled about them. That's why I remember.
For the Ursula one, I envisioned something like the Coral Reef restaurant with like a big aquarium, and you have like big like souls inside there, and you have like a big giant octopus like.
That would be so good. That would be so good. Ursula was always my favorite when I was a kid. I used to have like tomatoes cut up on a plate, and I would lay backwards and do the whole like wasted away to practically nothing speech. So I'd have to have some kind of meal because she's all about like the fact that she can't eat. There's no food, but it's good. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Trying to think what else. Oh, I remember the other one I was thinking of. I would do like Disneyland Paris, where you go into the dragon's lair. I would have like a whole Maleficent dragon's lair with like big thorns and vines and like an eatery in like a dark drifty space.
That's awesome.
You know, like a cave.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I envision like big like throne type chairs with like
yeah sharp things that look sharp and scary.
Yeah, but has to be
yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, those would be like my selection of restaurants. I'm sure that I could think of more. But those would be my go-tos, I think.
I was thinking like an evil queen, kind of like Cinderella's Royal Table, but evil queen from Snow White type thing.
Yep.
Maybe we were talking about meet and greets with the magic mirror. Instead of meeting Cinderella, maybe you meet the magic mirror there.
Maybe that's a good idea. Yeah. Darren had mentioned like just doing a bakery stop that was it was Evil Queen, so it's all like apple pie, apple, like everything apple. Yeah.
We just on our last episode we did an apple spiced pretzel that was supposed to be like a poison apple. It was really good.
Yeah.
That would be another really cool ride. It's like a cocoa.
Actually, a cocoa ride would be very good.
Going into like the land of the dead, kind of.
Yeah.
Or the golden leaf bridge thing.
Yeah, that's the golden leaf. I think you could do just about anything. Although I tend to think that it wouldn't be necessarily a villain thing.
No. Well, yeah.
And I'm not a huge fan of the villain. He's arrogant.
Yeah. He wasn't.
Really I can't even remember his name right now. Ernesto de Cruz. Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. No, he wasn't my favorite villain.
But
he was too mean.
You could have like a Coco themed land, maybe.
You could. Maybe he's a tour guide. That could work.
Yeah. Another thing that we were thinking about was not necessarily having a villains themed restaurant, but you could have during Halloween time you could have villain themed character dining in like even the Disney parks now, which would be really cool. So like Park Fair, for instance, instead of it being like Alice in Wonderland and Winnie the Pooh and Mary Poppins, it could be like Maleficent and the Evil Queen and
that would be good.
Mother Gothel and stuff. I think that'd be cool.
Have some spooky treats instead inside. I think that would be good. I think they're due for something like that. Yeah. I think they're afraid though, the scare factor.
I get that. Maybe you put it at a resort that's not, well, they're all kid friendly, but I don't know. You do it at Colorado maybe.
Maybe.
Because then you could tie in, you could tie in the Latin American theme and have like, and you got Ernesto de la Cruz as one of the baddies.
That works.
It works sometimes.
Sometimes.
And then the other thing is, if you could make a villain's resort, what would you theme it to?
A villain-themed resort?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm thinking it would be like a value resort,
Okay.
similar to Art of Animation, where it's like, you know, how there's like Cars and Lion King and Nemo.
Have like wings.
But you'd have it as different villain themes. So you could have like a
That's a good
Jafar,
idea.
you can have an Ursula area, and so on and so forth. And you could just theme each one around the different villains. I think that would be a big hit.
I think that's probably your like safest bet, because then you could pick multiples, because you don't want to. Yeah, I think that that's probably a very good idea, because then you can pull the qualities or the ones that you want that would work best with like theme and design, and bring it together. That's very smart.
You could literally take Art of Animation, and instead of the Little Mermaid, just flip it for Ursula, and keep that whole area it is. You could take
Lion King. You could flip it. You take Cars? You would take Cars?
Well, there's no bad guy in Cars.
I was gonna say not really. Like, Chick Hicks doesn't really count as a bad guy. No.
So you would take Cars.
You could switch it if you wanted Pixar. You could pick something else. Like you could pick Toy Story and do Sid or Al, right? Or
you do
maybe Up.
Syndrome.
Because he's scary. Yeah. I love Syndrome. How did I not even think of Syndrome? Syndrome is awesome.
You could do. I think that would be a really cool one. Actually, do like an Incredibles area and have like the Underminer and Bon Voyage and Syndrome.
No, that would be super good.
You could have like an Incredibles themed pool that shaped like the logo.
You totally could. Actually, you know what? That would be an Incredibles area that with all the villains would be great in a resort like that.
And like you could take like the Lion King section out and put like Aladdin, and for a pool you could have it shaped as a scarab.
Oh, that's good. You could have like a snake that you have to ride down. Like,
oh my god! Oh,
it would be great.
Get back. You take Nemo out because that's like the big pool.
Yeah, okay.
And you have the snake water slide.
Yeah, right. Snake water slide. It could be good.
And then you can take the Lion Scar and make it an elephant graveyard. Done.
Yeah, that would be good.
There you go.
Done. That's great. I like your idea. I'd be staying there.
Done.
I know, we should.
Right.
Why aren't we?
Like, new resort idea. When pandemic's done.
Let's go with it. I think that they're underestimating how well the villains do. The villains are always popular. Always popular.
And there's
never enough stuff.
There's always that rumor going around that there's always going to be a Dark Kingdom somewhere.
I know. But there isn't yet.
Right? Oh, man,
we need more rides like Pandora ride, like Flight of Passage. More Flight of Passages. I don't know what you would do.
Oh, Hocus Pocus?
What? That would be amazing. Oh, I love the Sanderson sisters. You could totally do a Hocus Pocus like that.
Yeah.
You're so very clever.
Have them as vacuum cleaners instead of brooms?
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's so good.
The one character that we haven't talked about was Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, that was another one. That was another restaurant I had. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. Because the restaurant was going to be an Oogie Boogie theme where you don't get to pick what you want. It's on the dice.
Oh, that would be cool.
Right?
You just have like a big pair of dice on the table and...
So you'd have it something like, you could do it something like this to Canteen where you have like noodle bowls of something, right? But you don't know, you have like a sauce dice and you have like a meat dice or something, and you have to chuck them to know what you're going to have, and that's, with the way the dice lands, that's what you get.
That would be so cool.
Right? That would be fun.
Oh man. That would be really fun.
That was one of our ones.
That's awesome. Is there any current ride in Disneyland, Disney World, Disneyland, whatever, any
somewhere
that you would put a ride overlay on similar to Nightmare Before Christmas for Haunted Mansion in Disneyland?
Oh, good question. I've actually never ridden the like Halloween version of...
I would do a Hocus Pocus overlay in Disney World at Haunted Mansion. So you could have like the Sanderson sisters in like the graveyard scene, and that'd be a lot of fun. I don't know how you.
I think that would be fun. I don't know how you would do it either. And I was thinking if I would do an overlay, if you're keeping with Haunted Mansion, I would do a voodoo. I would do a Facilier.
Ooh, that would be cool. That works perfect.
Like I would do like a Facilier voodoo overlay on the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Like I was trying to think of other rides, and the other rides are tricky to try and overlay.
Yeah.
But Haunted Mansion works as an overlay because you can kind of just do anything creepy. So. Yeah. Yeah, like a Facilier voodoo.
What would be really creepy is like not even like a villain's overlay, but just like a really creepy overlay of Small World.
It would be so scary. You'd really warp people.
That ride already warps people a little bit.
No, I love Small World. I must be one of the only people in the world that loves Small World. I love Small World.
I grew to love it too. I used to hate it.
I've always loved Small World.
So, have you ever read The Kingdom Keepers by Ridley Pearson?
I haven't, no.
Oh, okay. So good. It popped into my head was Walt wrote down these clues for these kids to figure out to stop the villains from taking over the park, and one of them had to do with like sun, a sun. And so they're going through all of the rides that they can think of where there's a sun, and one of them is Small World. And then the dolls in Small World start to come alive and chase after them.
Oh, that's so scary. Nobody wants a can-can dancer chasing after them.
Man, I think that would be so much fun to have. Like,
no way, that's too scary.
Another thing that just popped into my head that would be really cool is a great movie ride, but based on the villains.
That would be good too. I love a great movie ride.
I'm so sad that they took it away.
I know, I'm sad they took it away too. Not as sad as I'll be if they take Carousel of Progress away though.
I don't think they would. I don't know.
Yeah, except they talked about it for the past 2 years, 3 years. They keep playing with it, and I nearly cried.
So, who knows?
They can't take it away. No, Great Movie Ride was always amazing. I always loved Great Movie Ride. You could totally do a whole build thing with Great Movie Ride. And the best thing about Great Movie Ride was always that you had that bit of interaction with the your driver that was also part of so you could have that with the villains, which would be stellar. You could totally have that. It would be great.
You used to the aliens part in there, and the Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I know. I love Great Movie Ride.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun.
You're very welcome. I had a lot of fun. I would do this again. This was lots of fun.
Thanks again, Natalie. Some people have submitted some really spooky ideas, so let's get started. Zach and Candace both said anything Yzma would be perfect for the parks. Like Natalie, Candace thought that Yzma's lab would be a perfect theme for a bar, and there would be a lever on the wall that you could pull and would interact with the environment somehow. Speaking of Yzma's lever, Shelby suggested a roller coaster similar to that of Yzma's roller coaster in The Emperor's New Groove, where Yzma and Kronk go down to the lab, and in order to start the coaster, one of the cast members would have to pull a lever on the wall. Crystal thought of some wicked food and beverage ideas like Madame Mim's concoction bar for mocktails, the Evil Queen's candied apple cart, and my favorite of her suggestions was Cruella's hot dog stand. A little bit dark, but very clever. Dustin suggested that he's all about the little details. He would like to see an anti-hero posters or paraphernalia, wanted posters for the actual heroes like Peter Pan and Hercules. And instead of villains walking around, they could lurk and sneak around and try and jump out and say hi. Chris suggested a villains dinner show where the villains come out in sequence outfits and sing blues renditions of their popular songs. I think this would be hilarious. Wouldn't it be funny to see Hades come out in a sequence costume, come out and just sing some really kind of blues rendition of something, or like an anti-hero song? Thank you all for those suggestions. They were diabolical. And that's a wrap for this week's show. Join Kristen and I next week for our Christmas Takeover episode. As Jack Skellington would say, Christmas time is buzzing in my skull. Comment below with your villains or Christmas overlay ideas that you would add to the parks. And get your thinking caps on for our show in 2 weeks when we have our fireworks episode. Tell us what ultimate fireworks display you would love to see in the parks. It could be anything from fireworks to a new world of color. Now, if you do have any ideas for today's or future show ideas, please leave a comment down below or email me at theblueskylounge@gmail.com. We are also on most social media platforms by searching the Blue Sky Lounge, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Now, please note that this podcast is not affiliated with Disney in any way. This is a fan-run show featuring fan ideas and art that is no true representation of what may or may not happen in the future with Disney. Now, thank you so much for taking the time out of your week to join me here at the Blue Sky Lounge, and just remember to think, dream, believe, and dare yourself to use your imagination. Who knows what kind of blue sky thinking you can do from your armchair. Thanks.